Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast. My favorite part is seeing Chuck jam out to this every time the open comes on. Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. This is Monday, November 20th. This is episode 52. That's Chuck, Don, me, back as usual. Number 52 is pretty easy there, guys. At least in my opinion. Ray Lewis comes to mind.
Ray Lewis does.
Top three linebacker all time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think you
sure.
can make an argument.
Sure. Yeah.
Who else? Who else is up there? You know, Dick Butkus, who we talked about with number 51. David.
Lawrence Taylor.
LT.
And probably
It
Mike
finally
Singletary.
happened. Someone's phone went off.
My bad. My bad. It's my son. I'm not getting it.
Which one? Landry?
It was Grant.
Oh, okay. Well, 52 is pretty, like I said, pretty easy. Ray Lewis, Iron Mike Webster's pretty good. Who I think a lot of people discovered, sadly, because of the movie Concussion. I don't think anybody knew about Iron Mike Webster.
Those Steeler teams were on TV every week, and so you pretty much knew that whole lineup because they were so good.
Yeah,
They
right.
ruined two of my Sundays on Super Bowl 10 and 13.
Anybody else for 52, guys?
Jamal Silk Wilkes, better known as Keith, coming out of UCLA. Won the first championship with Magic and Kareem in the early 80s with the Lakers. Saw him at the Vegas Summer League this year and actually got to speak with him for a few minutes. And,
How was that?
Very, very nice guy. I told him, I said, hey, man, I just want to tell you, I saw the Bill Walton documentary. Have you guys seen that, by the way, the 3-part Bill Walton?
Mm-mm.
It's fantastic. He played with Bill Walton. He was on those championship teams with Bill Walton at UCLA, and then he went on to the Lakers. But sweet man, very, very good guy. Jamal Wilkes, 52, not a very common basketball number.
Nope.
Great rebounding champion, Buck Williams from the Blazers. You remember him? He was 52. But, yeah, it's not a common number.
Nope. Chuck, anybody else?
Nope.
All right, deal.
I'm good.
Got a lot on the hopper today. We're going to try and get in and out of here about 35 minutes. So we got Spurs, Cowboys, CJ Stroud and the Texans, and then UTSA Senior Day, which just happened, plus probably the most important game in UTSA football history coming up this week. So we're going to talk about all that and more. First off, though, let's get to the Spurs. Don, I said this to you right before we started recording, and I'll say it to you again. They suck. And it's I think they suck worse than we planned on them sucking because I think all of us thought they were going to be okay, but they are not. They're just not okay.
You look at the numbers and you look at what Wemby's doing, and I'll still make the argument that he's Rookie of the Year. He's probably going to make an All-Star team. He's putting up basically 20 and 10, a little less than 8 or something. He's as good as advertised on a team that's trying to find themselves that, like Pop said, we're just going to observe, right? And I go back and I read a couple of things that Pop said in the preseason, which was, we want to win. This year, winning is important. So that is a priority. It's not like they're tanking. But they're also in observation mode because they don't want to make Wemby what he's not. So they're just watching for the first 20 games or so. Well, now we're at game 14. Yeah. And I get this feeling watching them sometimes that the kindergarten or preschool teacher left the room and the kids are left to their own devices. And when they have these incredible stretches where the other teams go on 24-5 runs or 20-0 runs or 18-0 runs, offensively, there's nothing that you can explain what it is other than no one's the point guard. Everyone's out of control. Everyone is guilty, including Doug McDermott and people, of taking horrible shots. And then defensively in those same stretches, just go dunk on us and we will show no resistance. So that's what's maddening, I'm sure, to fans. Pop has lots more patience than we do. And I'm sure there's some method to this madness that at some point, maybe it's to prove to the kids that, look, you want to play outside? You don't work outside. Wemby's efficiency numbers are awful outside of 15 feet.
But Pop also has already called out his team once, and it was last week, saying you got to get tired of getting your asses kicked. And apparently they're not, because they came out 2 days later and they were taking it to, Memphis on Saturday, and then second half gave up another huge lead. And then Friday night they played help me out here. They played at home on Friday night too. Came out, played well in the first half, got their asses kicked in the second half. It was Sacramento. They were came out. I think it was a 19-point lead or something like that in the first half.
The Kings are a good team. Memphis is not a good team.
But still, you have like a 12, 14-point lead in the first half. You tied up at halftime. Then Memphis comes out and Sacramento comes out, runs them in the third quarter. They finally rally back in the end of the third quarter, tie. I think it was a 1-point game at the end of the third, and then they get their doors blown off in the fourth. It's just like it consistently keeps happening.
When I watch them, the thing that goes into my head every possession as I'm watching it, I'm saying to myself, value the ball. And they don't. They don't value the ball. They just throw it away.
Chuck, what about you?
Well, it's kind of a difficult one to answer in one podcast, right? Because the game that really irked me was the OKC game. There were many times in that game where, if you're going to lose because you're missing shots or you get out rebounded, but the effort's there when they're a young team, you want to give them grace, right? Why would you be attacking a team that's playing hard and at least trying to do the best that they can while they're on the floor? But there were many examples in that Oklahoma City game where, if you let a point guard get the ball, inbounds the ball, and I'm talking about OKC's guy, the Australian kid,
Giddy,
and he meets no resistance whatsoever towards the basket, doesn't that piss you off a little bit? I mean, and that's just one example of guys, as you said, one guy goes to the basket unimpeded, nobody stops him, nobody tries to stop him. I'm old enough to remember where that kind of stuff didn't fly, even 5 years ago. Like, you can't let a guy just go get a layup, and you got to make sure that you foul him so that he doesn't get the and one opportunity, but you at least make him earn it from the free throw line. We're not seeing any of that. You're right about Wemby his numbers are awful away from the basket. I think he's shooting over 90% around the rim. He's very skilled with both hands around the rim. There's no question about that. I like the way he rebounds. I like the way he blocks shots, but he doesn't run the court great, and you can't play fast with him on the court, or at least they can't right now. They're not showing anybody that they can do that. So, are they as bad as their record says they are? Probably not, but are they as
talent-wise?
Are they as good, or are they better than what they were last year 13 games in? I don't know.
See, and that's the thing is, like, you look at their talent and you go, okay, they're not a 3-10 team talent-wise, but they don't know how to play. They're just now, 14 games in, figuring out how to throw Wemby the ball close to the rim. Trey Jones kind of showed him how. Actually, it was Devontae Graham who'd been rotting on the bench. Because of some injuries to Trey Jones and to Devin, he got forced into action one time. And it's almost as if Trey Graham had been watching the season going, I can't wait to get my chance to show you guys how easy this could be. Throw it up there, 12 feet in the air towards the rim, and this guy can go get it. And he did it 2 or 3 times. Zach Collins is the best passers as far as a feel for the game are Wemby, Zach Collins. I mean, I know they want Sohan to be the point guard, and he does have passing ability, but he doesn't have a point guard's mindset. He's not looking for guys looking this way and seeing the cutter and looking that way. There are so many times when Wemby is flashing to the rim with a hand up that Keldon misses him. Devin misses him. Sohan misses him because they're thinking score first.
They need Trey in the lineup.
They need some structure, and I think it will come. I think we're, like I said, a lot less patient than Pop. I think Pop is in some ways allowing them to hang themselves first so that he can then go show them. Look, it's going to be a difficult conversation for Wemby when Pop has to sit him down and say, I know you want to shoot the ball from 30 feet. We need you in there in the paint. Because Wemby's always like, I'm a guard, I'm this. And I think, they're number 1 draft pick. You want to make sure he re-signs and all that. I play this way. This is how I play. Pop learned his lesson with Manu. Let him play the way he plays. Well, let me tell you something. Wemby's not going to make it as a spot-up three-point shooter from 30 feet.
Well, you also, if you're going to allow him to play the way he plays, you have to structure a team around the way he plays, and that's not how the team's structured. The team is structured differently right now.
Agree. I mean, because if you're going to have Jeremy Sohan as your point guard, and that's quote-unquote the experiment,
it's a failed experiment.
You would hope that he's on the floor to play defense to stop the other team from getting into a rhythm because of his length and his athleticism and all that. They're not getting anything out of that right now. And I don't want to put it all on him because it's a concerted effort for what's going on right now. The leads that they've blown and just the times that they look discombobulated. You know, I watched most of the game the other night against Memphis. I was out of cover 3, and I left after the third quarter, and I was like, okay, well, Memphis is looking a little good here at the end of the third, but never once did I even consider that they would be able to blow that lead again. And then look at the box score when I got home. It's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Teams turn up their physicality and their defensive intensity, and a good point guard never loses the ball. Stripped, you know, like bringing the ball up, and a guard who's pressuring him can take it from him.
You're also just not going to win a lot of games when you allow 124.2 points a game. You're last in the league in terms of defense. You're second in terms of assists, and you're 25th in terms of offensive rebound.
And when you're a top 10 team in turnovers.
Yeah.
And if you do the whole bewitched thing and you blink and you think Chris Paul on this team as your starting point guard, it fixes a lot of things in a very short term.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help you with your cap. It doesn't help you in the long term. It doesn't extend your window to win with Wemby. So it's not the answer, but you just would hope that at some point there is someone who can be the adult in the room and run the show. Because right now that's the problem. No one's running the show.
Yeah, and it seems like right now things are going to get worse before they get better, and things have gotten considerably worse than they were. Like the games in Phoenix seem like a lifetime ago. The 2 games that they won in Phoenix, one when they came back and one where Phoenix came back, that was 9 games ago. It seems like last year. Like it's just ridiculous.
That was when nobody knew what to do, knew how to scout them. Now people are looking at game film.
Yep.
And I still go back to the end of that Phoenix game too, where it looked like Durant, you know, I don't know what he was doing those last 2 possessions.
That's
just fair. Looked odd. Let's just say that.
Real quickly, the Lord Voldemort of Spurs Nation is coming back tonight. I think it's tonight and Wednesday, right? The Clippers are in town, and what do you think? What do you think that reception is going to be like? The old one for Spurs Nation and the new one with Wemby, with Kawhi being here.
I don't think Spurs fans give Kawhi a second thought now. He's been back many times as the opponent now.
It doesn't change the dynamic at all that Wemby's here now.
He gets booed. No. I mean, there'll be more people there.
That's fair. All right, let's get to the Cowboys real quick. So Cowboys, they win 33-10 over the Panthers. Got a little hairy there in the third quarter. I believe it was 17-10 at one point. But I don't know. My overarching thought was like, I don't feel like I've learned anything about the Cowboys in the last 3 weeks. They just keep destroying people because they should destroy them.
Well, there's something to be said about handling your business, though, too, right?
Yeah.
And I think the mantra this week was go win on the road, right? We've been great at home. Can we do it consistently on the road? Their last road win was against the Chargers. They haven't been awful on the road, but you sure make life easier on yourself when you're building your resume if you can win some games on the road. So they dominated defensively. I mean, they had 7 sacks in that game yesterday. They took care of business there, and it was a very, very good win knowing what the rest of the week is going to look like, because we're now getting to the point in the season where you can talk about the amount of instances that Dak has been able to sit out games because they've had such big leads that I think that's going to pay dividends at the end of the season, where they've been able to rest guys in the middle of the season, in the middle of a ball game. That doesn't happen very often in this league, where most of the games are decided by 7 points or fewer.
Yeah, on a quick turnaround like that, they got Pollard some rest too. And my takeaway from the day was Jerry doesn't know what century it is, and Deron Bland is really good. And I didn't think – I thought of Deron Bland as a capable backup. And in reality, he – might be as good as Diggs.
I was going to ask you as a question, is he better than Diggs?
Right.
Yeah.
Valid.
I mean, it might be apt only because it's one of those things when you keep seeing it repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. It's not just us as fans watching. I mean, the coaches are seeing this stuff too. I mean, he's been absolutely amazing. I mean, you could think about having Bland and Seven alongside each other for many, many years to come. You know, assuming that, you know, Stephon Gilmore's getting a little up there in age, still a great player. But, I mean, you talk about a 5th-round pick doing what he's doing. And, again, remember last year it was he got in there, he got his chance because They had some injuries at that spot, and the first game, he comes up with a pick. It's like, who is this guy? It was kind of like the way Jordan Lewis got onto the scene now, too. And Jordan Lewis is still a really good player, but he's fallen down the depth chart pretty quickly with the DBs that the Cowboys are assembling.
Do you think they regret re-signing Diggs when they did at this point?
I don't think they regret re-signing him. I think they might be fair to say overpaid him, because when you lose a guy like him and you absolutely do not miss him at all, then the amount of money they gave him, you might can argue that they overpaid him. He's still a very good player.
I mean, yeah, when we were going through all the guys that they'd re-signed back in August, I put it out there very clearly. I thought that he was the one that could have been expendable probably the most because of people like Deron Bland.
I don't know he's expendable, but I don't know you have to give him
expendable
that
might not be
amount
the
of
right
money.
word to be used, but like the one that you might want to re-sign last. The one that, like, if you can't re-sign everybody, then maybe he's the one that you don't re-sign.
It's the old, paying Dak, right? Everybody likes Dak. You just don't like him at that price because of what it does to your salary cap.
Right.
But this is one of those situations where if all things being equal, if Seven hadn't torn up his knee, now you've got 3 of those guys on the field. And then, that allows you to maybe go somewhere else and spend your money too. When you have a 5th-round pick playing under a rookie contract doing this, I mean, that's unbelievable.
So sorry, go ahead.
I don't watch I'm not a football guy as far as when Diggs put up whatever it was, 11 interceptions,
yeah, wasn't it like
all
11?
that, and led the league and was all pro first team. There was a lot of people saying he's not that good. He gets those interceptions, but outside of that, he's soft in tackling. He makes a lot of he gambles a lot. He gets beat a lot. I think the thing that you're hearing from the Todd Archers and the people that really know football is that Bland is good in other areas besides just pick sixes. Like, he's targeted less. His percentage numbers when
His
targeted.
coverage is better.
His coverage is better.
You don't see him getting blown by all the time. It's not like pick or else. It's like maybe he'll pick it off and take it to the house, but it's not like there's guys running past him for a touchdown and they're wide open and you give up all these explosive plays.
Well, if he picks it off, it is going to the house.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's not just a pick six stat, which is huge, but he's got 11 that lead the NFL over the last 2 years. So he's not just flashy to pick them and return them. He's got 4 of those, but 11 total interceptions.
Yeah, wasn't it? I saw it yesterday. It was that he's tied the record for most pick sixes in a season with like 3 other guys. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
He is also the Cowboys' all-time leading pick six guy. He's got 4, which ties Dennis Thurman and Dexter Coakley, who also have 4, but both played 8 years with the team.
What numbers were they?
Dexter Coakley was 52
That's right. He was.
from today.
Did you know that too? Is that why you did
That's
that
why
right
I
there?
asked.
Okay, good call.
And
We should have mentioned Dexter Coakley.
Damn it.
then.
and Dennis Thurman was 32.
I did want to ask. This game we got coming up. It's not on the rundown, so sorry, Luis. This game we got coming up on Thursday is now an 11-point spread in favor of Dallas because you saw Washington get their asses kicked by Tommy DeVito on Sunday. To me, it feels like a trap. to me, it doesn't feel good having Washington. I mean, unless Sam Howell's out, then it changes everything because he apparently got banged up in that Giants game. It feels a little bit trappy to me having a division opponent on a Thanksgiving night at 3:30 in the afternoon as 11-point favorites. It just something doesn't add up to me.
The spread
there.
might be a trap, but they're going to win the game. They're going to win the game, Matt.
I stay away from the gambling stuff because
Well,
I
I just-
smell trap too.
I
I
smell
do
trap.
because it's Washington. They always play them hard. I don't care what they look like. I don't care who's playing quarterback. They get up for the Cowboys and
They
they
do.
will sell out. The Cowboys will get their very best.
Yeah, and
But the Cowboys will probably win.
And it's a division game, and you always get up for those games. I mean, put aside the 2 Giants wins this year because they aren't like a real NFL roster. The Commanders have a decent team, and the Commanders, besides yesterday, have shown that they can keep up with the best of them. They took the Eagles to overtime once and almost beat them the second time too. I mean, the Commanders have taken people. They're more of like that team that like you either play up to your competition or down to your competition. They're one of those teams.
Yeah, and they're not a team that's typical of playing on a Thanksgiving Day, too. So it's possible that they were doing more of their game planning for this game coming up. And because of what the Giants' injury situation is, maybe you look past them. I don't know if that's the case, but I definitely expect Washington to play a lot better than they did yesterday.
Yeah, it seems like a 3 to 7 point game for me, not an 11-point game. I did want to ask you, I saw Bryce Young. He was the first pick in the draft as he played yesterday against the Cowboys. The Panthers are horrible. CJ Stroud, the second pick in the draft, is playing much better, obviously, as he's on the 6-4 Texans, who had another good, gritty win yesterday against the Cardinals. How bad do you think everyone in the Panthers organization feels about taking Bryce over CJ Stroud right now?
Do you think if you switch them, how much different are the records? In other words, is it the team or is it the guy?
I think it's the guy. I think CJ Stroud is just a better player.
Well, as I looked at him, eye test, CJ Stroud seems to be a much more NFL prototype 6'3", whatever, compared to Bryce Young, who was like 5'10",
maybe
5'11".
On a good day.
Yeah, but I don't want to throw the kid under the bus because he gets no protection. They're just awful. I think he's going to still be a good NFL player. We saw enough of him in Alabama to see that the kid has talent. But yeah, I mean, that was wasn't there somewhere on the internet last week that showed that Carolina thought they had a trade, or something they were gonna try to move to number 2 to get. I think they were okay with getting Stroud.
I don't know about that. All I know is I did see that the Texans, there was a lot of misinformation out there, as there always is during the draft, that like sources inside the NFL say that the Texans are interested in X when really they're interested in Y. All of those came from the Texans. The Texans were trying to get everyone off of their tail so no one knew that they wanted CJ Stroud, because I think they knew what some of the draft pundits knew, is that Bryce Young is too small. First of all, Carolina is just not a good team, and CJ Stroud's just a better quarterback. He showed you against Georgia, and I think that everyone's kind of seeing that now, that Bryce Young might not live up to the billing. As good as his arm is, you do still need to be a grown man's size to be in the NFL.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think you're seeing right now before your very eyes why the default is always size and speed, right? I mean, plus he's got a hell of an arm too. So if all things being equal, you've got a 5'10" guy and a guy that's not only tall but wide too, that's built to take the punishment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too much money involved to take a chance at that spot. And I'm not saying that Bryce isn't going to be a good player too, because I agree with everything that you guys are saying. It's just, this is why teams more often than not default on the size thing.
To your point on the CJ, on like, is it the team or is it the player kind of thing? CJ Stroud has gone through like 7 iterations of an offensive line. Titus Howard went down. Laramie Tunsil went down. His whole offensive line has gone down. He's playing with nobodies as receivers that we all have kind of come to know now. Actually, we know them all familiar because they're all Cowboys, besides Tank Dell. But I think D'Amico is better than Frank Reich for sure. But I don't know if, when you look at the rosters at the beginning of the season and now, and seeing who has been injured, who has not been injured, I don't think we can really make the comparison, because CJ Stroud's done more with less as well.
I'll tell you this.
I agree.
CJ Stroud had to come out of the game yesterday after taking an absolute slobber knocker where he held into the pocket way too long. Remember the shot that he took? I don't think Bryce Young returns if he takes the same shot.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely not.
Or worse.
Yeah.
Let's get to just truly great scenes last Friday. Last UTSA home game probably for Frank Harris and Rashad Wisdom and 19 other seniors, possibly the last game in the Alamo Dome for Jeff Traylor. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful game, seeing Frank run wild and throw all over the place. I think he had 523 yards, 6 touchdowns, set career highs all over the place.
And then ran for over 100 too.
Yeah, career total yards. It was just such a great send off for Frank. I know you were tweeting about it all evening on Friday.
Yeah, just Chuck and I both covered this kid when he was at Clemens High School, and remember he came in studio one night for one of those high school jersey presentations or whatever we do. He had his glasses on, and he's this intellectual kid with his dad, and he's just, the nicest kid with this huge smile, and was genuinely like inquisitive about grown-ups, as a high school kid. He was asking about the TV station, about what we do, all this kind of stuff. And we had, I think it was Casey Kiernan, a reporter here, who kind of developed a real strong relationship with him. And so just to kind of know the kid, Chuck and I called Rashad Wisdom's games when he was at Judson on TNL. And we had Frank on TNL as well. So it's kind of, there's like a proud parent aspect to this, to see the 7 years and the knee surgeries and the near amputation and
the shoulder surgeries and
all that stuff. To see him get what he kind of deserved going out was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a tendency, too, for us being old guys, too. You kind of want to put him in a box, right? To me, Frank's always going to be Little Vic, because that was his Twitter handle when he was a kid, because he sure as hell was Little Vic. But to see where these guys are now, I mean, they are grown men. And not just in terms of being football players, but just as humans. I mean, the humanity that they show off the field, you can talk about the leaders that they are inside their own building and, why these guys are going to make great professionals, whether it's in football or some other aspect of life. I mean, they're already pros at that kind of stuff, galvanizing a room, getting others to go where maybe they don't want to go, because they've got their best interest of the person that they're trying to lead to. I mean, these guys they're just phenomenal. And my takeaway from that game, having not seen a whole lot of it, was when they ran that gadget play and they scored, that these guys really like each other. Whatever the environment is there, it must be pretty damn good. And it probably starts, obviously a lot with Traylor too, but with Frank and Rashad, that, everybody is up when somebody does something well, or somebody that you didn't see, that hadn't had maybe a big seat at the table during the course of the year, does something. And everybody genuinely happy for guys that are getting opportunities to play. It's really very, very uncommon to see what we saw, and I think was a good reminder of why we watch sports.
And I think you also saw that when, I think Joshua Cephas also set a career record at UTSA. I think he broke Zachary Franklin's yardage record, if I'm remembering correctly. And they saw, there was this video of him being honored on the Jumbotron, and then just a video of him and hearing what he's saying. He's like, I'm nothing without zero. I'm nothing without zero. Nothing without Frank. And so I think kind of goes to further your point, is these guys genuinely love each other and have been here forever throughout, and they've just faced so much adversity over all of their years here. It was really great to see.
Frank was on the podium for 15 minutes and was asked probably 15, 20 questions. And I watched it 2 different times. In every answer, he brings up his teammates, his coaches, and his family. In every answer. Even when it was the most hyper Frank angle, he would talk about it. Yes, my knee, this. But it was my teammates, it was my parents, it was my coach who got me through it, blah, blah, blah. Every single time, there's giving credit to the whole group. I think that's coached. Into guys.
I think you saw that with Jeff too, because there's all these rumors swirling around with Jeff and A&M and whatever. His first answer when asked about A&M was, "It's a real shame that you guys are talking about me when I got 18 seniors that just played."
Yeah.
And it's I think that goes to your point too. It's coaching. It's there. This is about them, not about one person.
And it's about family and parents. It's about moms and dads.
For sure.
The Wisdoms and the Harrises and those parents are just solid as they come.
Right.
Roger that. And don't you think, too, that this is why they win, too? I mean, with all the distractions of last week, they go out and just maul the opposition. I mean, short week, there would have been a lot of reasons to say, okay, this is either going to be close or whatever. They just went out and just did the work. And that's what they do. I mean, that's why it's impressive to watch them play ball.
I think that carried a lot of pressure going into that game too.
Sure.
It's you want to send Frank out on the best note possible. You want to send Rashad out, and all of these guys who have given so much to UTSA and dragged this program from being in its infancy to now being possibly in an AAC championship game. And you just wanted to pay them back so much. I could see that pressure maybe maybe having been there on Friday, but it
Right.
quickly went away when they just destroyed
Or
USF.
think about what the narrative is if they lose,
Yeah.
right? You could go on and on with that, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They went out and dominated.
And think about, like, especially the 12-win season last year. Think about the trailer said, look, we were 12 and whatever, but we could have been 2 and 12 or whatever. And you think about all the one-score games. If just do yourself a favor and pull up the website and look at the one-score games that they won, and look at the memories of the tipped ball with 0 time left on the clock that Oscar catches to win the division against UAB that sends them to the championship game. The 1-minute drive with no timeouts that Frank engineers on a 30-yard scramble, and then the one-handed catch that Oscar makes, and then the fade to the end zone. 3 plays in a row. Boom, boom, boom. They beat North Texas and win the conference. All of these one-score drives, games, whatever. Memphis was the first one that I saw when they were on the road at Memphis, down 20 at the half. And they came back and won, and I talked to Traylor that week after, and I said, culture won that game. And he believes it. And it sounds corny. Culture sounds corny. Triangle toughness, all that. Mm-hmm. But when those kids buy it every single day and they believe it, and as Chuck said, you love each other, that stuff matters.
Yep.
It's cheesy and it's corny, but it matters.
And speaking of possible one-score games, this week is probably the biggest game in UTSA football history against Tulane. UTSA has never beaten a ranked opponent. They're going to have another opportunity this week. How do you guys think it plays out, Chuck?
That's a tough one. I mean, would I bet against these guys? Hell to the no. I mean, I would think that this one is gettable. I mean, I think they're favored to win, right? It's 3.5-point spread, so I'm not the only one that's thinking that. And they're just playing their best football at the right time. I mean, they've kind of gotten as healthy as they're going to be. Some guys have had a chance to play that have had a chance to step up, and now they've got, a little more wisdom in terms of what they're able to see on the course or on the field of play because of, the experience that they've gained. It's just fascinating to see these guys every week handle their own business the way that they do. It's really something to behold, and I'll be shocked if they don't win, quite frankly, because I just expect them to win every single week when you can see it building like it has.
This might have been the first time ever that you knew the spread and I didn't.
It was shocking yesterday. He told me.
They are 3-point underdogs.
UTSA is?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought we saw him as a 4-point favorite yesterday.
Yeah, it was a 3.5 yesterday. I thought they were favorite.
UTSA is a 3-point underdog to Tulane in Tulane this week.
Well, then I stand corrected.
Friday,
Either that or
Friday,
there was a lot of money going down on Tulane.
And
they opened as 4 at 4. So.
Okay.
UTSA is a 4-point favorite?
No, they opened at 4-point underdogs.
My inner dyslexia has struck again. Okay, apologies.
Anyway, the point still stands.
I've looked at Tulane's schedule. They beat USC in the Cotton Bowl and haven't lost but once since, and that was to Ole Miss. But they are squeaking by teams that UTSA has handled. I mean, 2 points here, 5 points here, 3 points here.
2 points Tulsa, 3 points ECU, 2 points Rice, 7 points UNT, 10 points Memphis, 12 points UAB, and then they killed everyone at the beginning of the year.
So they haven't been, dominant. They're at home. They're good. But I'm going to go with the Roadrunners because there's no way I'm going to pick against them and then they win and then I'll feel completely ashamed.
Do you think that there is – that's fair.
Do you
think that there is something to say about – and none of these guys have ever beaten a ranked opponent, and here you go having another opportunity when they for sure should have beat Troy last year, but you saw obviously with –
Every time they've played one in my memory, Louisiana in a bowl game, was it Fresno? San Diego State in a bowl game. Troy, they're a shell of themselves.
Yeah, they're all injured that game.
Completely
or COVID
shot
or whatever
by the end of the year. So I think if there's a team that can come back from all the emotion of senior night, it's these guys and the distraction of trailer and job security, whatever. That's this team, and I think they're genuinely fired up to play on ABC and show the world really for the first time who this program is. The sports guys know, the Kurt Herbstreits and everybody, but they're on ABC the day after Thanksgiving when people are at home eating pie. So I think they're gonna I think they're going to rise to the challenge.
And if you missed the game, make sure to tune in News 4 San Antonio, 6 o'clock. I'll have the highlights for you.
All right.
Since I'll be here every day from Wednesday to Saturday. I think that they win. I can't pick against them. I'm like Don. I just like it. It's just bad voodoo at this point if I pick against them. Like, sorry, we're being homers. I don't care. I think they win, and I think that they'll.
Their athletes are as good as Tulane's
Also,
athletes.
if they win, so what I'm really rooting for is I hope they win and Navy beats SMU, which I don't think will happen. But if Navy beats SMU, that means the AAC home game or AAC championship is in the Alamo Dome, which would be
they
freaking
will
awesome.
host. Yeah.
I think that's the only scenario that it comes to the Alamo Dome. If they beat Tulane and SMU wins, then they go to SMU. If Tulane wins and SMU wins, then obviously they're not in. And then if Tulane wins and SMU loses, then I think UTSA goes to Tulane.
I'm going to hit the Matt default button and go with that.
I think that's true.
After the start of the season, for them to win 8 games is another really successful season.
I'm still
with a chance at 9 or 10.
I'm still mad about the Army game and the Houston game. Those two should have been wins too. This should be a 10-1 team right now, and instead they're 8-3, which is obviously nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, but maybe if they win those games, they're not winning these big ones down the stretch. I mean, the biggest thing is that they're handling their business in a new league, and they're putting the whole new league on, pretty much on notice that, hey, we're here.
That's why I love you, Chuck.
With a lot less resources, by the way.
You think of things differently. I didn't even think of that. That's all we got, guys. Anything else you want to throw in here? Any shout-outs?
No.
No? All
Shout
right.
out to you, Maddie, for
Thanksgiving.
putting this show together.
Everybody.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. Quick programming note. We will not be here Friday. We will have one Wednesday, and then happy Thanksgiving to everybody. You don't have to hear my voice for the rest of the week unless you tune into the shows.
You got good voice. We like hearing your voice.
I was blessed
You have good voice texture.
I was blessed with 2 things, height and a voice. And besides that, nothing else here.
You have
And
good
the
hair,
ability
too.
to sunburn.
I do have good hair.
You have good hair.
You know what? I blame President Trump for this.
For the sunburn.
Yeah, because he had us waiting out there for 4 hours yesterday in Edinburgh. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go take a nap. I just came back from Edinburgh like an hour ago. So.
You need to be as orange as me.
All right, we're not getting into that. Anyway, so that's all we got for you today on the Monday edition of the Caesar Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll be back on Wednesday. Until then, everyone have a good week. And if you don't see us on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. Or before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving.